Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, how can we clear the potter in the judiciary? As the question we want to try to answer right now with that topic, reducing the corruption in the judiciary. In the course of the week, we ran a report on this channel of how the level of corruption index, according to the ICPC in Nigeria. My mind hasn't really left 2020 when the judiciary was said to have collected bribes to the tune of 9.4 trillion naira. Is it billion or trillion? I'm not sure. So that was really billion or trillion, I'm not sure. Within 2 years. No, I think it was billion. Just to be fair. Well, a 2021 report by the United States Department of State said the Nigerian judiciary is constantly under pressure from the executive and legislative arms of government. Constantly. Corruption is particularly pervasive at election tribunals and in the corruption trials of highly politically exposed persons. Consequently, public perception that judges are easily bribed and that litigants cannot rely on the courts to render impartial judgments is widespread. According to the late Juris Caudiesho, corrupt judges are becoming billionaires through election cases. Unscrupulous senior lawyers that facilitate the corrupt transactions are making even more billions. The NJC has wielded its disciplinary powers on some erring judges. Some have been dismissed, some retired, some denied promotion, but many legal experts say these have not been enough. Many corrupt judges escape unscathed to enjoy their ill-gotten wealth. Let's have conversations around these issues this morning on reducing corruption in the judiciary, and if I dare add, insulating the judiciary from politically exposed persons. Mr. Godi Uwazurike is here with us this morning. Chief Gosfi Uwazurike is with us this morning. Godi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you and good morning.
Let's begin with you before we bring in another legal mind such as yourself. First of all, your assessment. In this election, in the election of 2023, February, March, we had a case where so far 30 members of the National Assembly, 7 senators, 23 members of the House of Representatives have been relieved of their jobs by the courts. So far, I think we have listed 3 governors who have also been pronounced by the courts as not validly elected for one reason or the other. What are your thoughts?
It's difficult to say anything. One is that this is my own constituency. As a lawyer, I have to be careful that I don't drag the name of the judiciary to the mud. But...
Don't you think it's already in the mud?
No, but when a masquerade comes out to dance naked in public, nobody should complain that we have seen the full view of the masquerade. The judiciary itself is on trial today in the court of the public opinion. And there is this local language we have, say fish the rotten from head. If you want to cleanse the judiciary from the head, you look and see whether it is rotten. If it is rotten, you decide whether you dry it up or you throw it away. So whichever way it is, judiciary must stand up in public because it is an arm of government. Remember there are 3, executive, legislature, and the judiciary. And each of them is supposed to be independent. And I remember one of the things we did at the National Conference was to examine the process of appointing judges. How open? And that is where the corruption starts from. If I appoint somebody a judge because he is your son, the new judge is indebted to me forever. If I make sure that he becomes a senior advocate, he has to dance to my tune. This is where it starts. Now, The one that is in public view every day is the magistrate courts, the customary courts. If you go there, they make no pretenses at all. But the one that has brought out the nakedness of the judiciary is the issue of the political cases. Right now, nobody can say for sure this is the law. I'll just give you an example. In Plateau State, APC came up and said, oh, your party structure, you were not properly nominated. The court agreed, except one or two. And the whole thing affected even the governor. Yesterday, in Ebonyi State, PDP brought up the same argument that you, the governor, you were not properly nominated by APC. What did the Court of Appeal say? Say you're a busybody. What is your business there? So when you begin to see inconsistencies in the public display, nobody should be angry that our faults are now magnified.
Let's take a quick look at that example that you just cited. The Plateau case and the Ebonyi State, from your own assessment, are they exactly the same?
They're exactly the same, and it is the same with what the Supreme Court held in the Tinubu cases, the ones from Peter, the ones from APM, when they were questioning the competence of the vice president to run for this office. Supreme Court said, no, it's their business, it's not your own. In the main trial, Peter and Atiku tried to bring in, they said, no, it's their business. That what we want is what happened on that day of election. Now, in many cases, I know some cases are still live and are still burning. I'll give you an example. Kanu. If you have 100 and something thousand people who trooped out, or 10,000 who trooped out to go and vote, they have discharged their duty. Duty completed, and they go home. Then somebody comes and says, all these votes must be discounted. You have to reject them. That those who provided the card did not put the stamp. How is it their fault? Now in Kanu is boiling. APC is warming up. And then people say no. And as a result of judicial discharge of the wrong functions. So I don't believe the judiciary has the duty of electing leaders. I use my words carefully. Yes, they'll come up and say, we are looking at what was done. If what was done was not right, ask them to go back and give the people the chance. The choice of who is elected belongs to the people.
Well, I'm not sure if we have Mr. Yemi Akinseye George, a senior advocate of Nigeria, who should be joining us in Benin. Well, Mr. Yemi Akinseye George, thanks for joining us this morning on this conversation. What are your thoughts about some of the issues that have been raised so far, especially concerning the judiciary? My concern in all of these conversations is to insulate the judiciary so that our democracy can survive. How vulnerable, in your opinion, is the judiciary for the laws that guide their activities, especially in these election cases?
Thank you so much. The judiciary remains indisputably the most important instrument for legitimizing, elections in Nigeria. And that's how the Constitution has made it. And the people have come to accept that responsibility. It is unfortunate that, the judiciary has to be saddled with the responsibility of determining these political questions, heavy political questions, weighty political questions, including who is recognized as the president of Nigeria, including who is going to be the governor of a state, including who is going to serve in the National Assembly. These functions are highly political. So it is expected that controversy will be generated. If there's no way the judiciary can please everyone, it's not possible. Because we have brought the judiciary into a partisan arena. If they decide in favor of APC, PDP will protest. If they decide in favor of PDP, Labour Party will protest. So we have put our judiciary in a very difficult position, and they are doing the best that can be done in the circumstance. So it is not unexpected that there will be criticism, there will be outcries, there will be outbursts. We had the similar situation in 2015 after the general elections. So once you bring the judiciary into the political arena, this is the kind of thing you get. You scandalize judges, people peddle unfounded rumors, people make allegations that are not true. Some stories are fabricated and placed on social media.
But isn't this also an indictment on the legal practitioners? Because they are the ones who decide for and against. Even after the cases have been decided by the courts, it is your colleagues, pardon my finger pointing, way of putting this to you. It's your colleagues in the judiciary, senior lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria in most cases, who argue for and against. So whatever it is, whatever they say to their clients, that the clients also take to the media. And it will seem like, we continue to denigrate the judiciary from the left and from the right, mostly led by judicial officers, lawyers, practitioners.
No, the point is this. The point is this. If you are looking for somebody to blame, it's not the legal profession. It is the political elite. It is the political elite that will not that will not allow the judiciary to perform their traditional functions. Ordinarily, political functions, resolution of political matters, is not for the judiciary. As a general rule, you don't bring the judiciary into political terrain, as we have done in Nigeria. We have overwhelmed the courts. We have loaded the courts with so many political issues. At every level of elections, you have thousands of cases. This is not what the judiciary was initially designed to deal with. And this is unusual. This is unusual. You go to other democracies, the countries that we have, whose examples we are following, United States of America. How many political cases go before the court? United Kingdom. How many political cases go before the court? Canada. How many political cases go before the court? And even as a similar African country, our situation is unusual. And the normal rules of adjudication will not apply to political cases. So that is why we need to go back to the drawing board. Rather than blaming judges, and peddling unfounded rumors, we need to re-examine the entire system. Is this system working? The judiciary has done very well so far, as far as I'm concerned. There are about to be contradictions.
Back to what my partner the question he just asked you. We had a very high-profile case not long ago in which, at the end of the day, the long and short of it was, the lawyers to the parties should have known better than to bring that case to court, because the case was dead in the water. It had no merit at all. But like they say, lawyers too must eat. So they advised their clients to go to court, waste the time of the court, waste money and everything, and they still lost the case. So in the end, it is still an indictment of the lawyers who go to courts with these frivolous cases.
There's an error that we must not allow to stand. Lawyers do not make laws for Nigeria. We have a National Assembly that makes law for Nigeria. I'm saying that the state of the law as it is does not enable the judiciary to do better than they are doing. In other words, we need to go back to the drawing board. We have been using this defective system since return to democracy in 1999. And the judiciary has done its best in providing legitimacy. But we all realize now that the system is not working. The judiciary does not make laws for Nigeria, but the judiciary applies laws that have been made. So it is high time we went back to the drawing board to think. For example, let me give you two instances. When the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, had issues with President Obasanjo, and President Obasanjo wanted to abuse his powers, to remove his Vice President, the judiciary said, no, you can't. And the Atiku's term as vice president ran out. He enjoyed his term. He was protected by the judiciary. Now, a presidential case came up. Because the case did not favor the same person, he now says that he has lost confidence in the judiciary. So what's going on? When he favors them, they say the judiciary is good. When he doesn't favor them, they say the judiciary is bad. That's number one. Another point I like to make is that why is it that the only cases that are prevalent, the only cases we are talking about now are political cases? Are those the only cases we have in Nigeria? Don't we have commercial cases? Don't we have land cases? Don't we have chieftaincy matters? But the elite has done it in such a way that all these other important cases are kept in the background, while everybody now faces only political cases. You cannot blame lawyers for that. It is the lawmaking, it is the legislature that has decided to tweak the system in a manner that favors the political elite. So what I'm saying is that we need to reform. We need to look at the system. For example, pre-trial cases. Why should we study the judiciary with the resolution of pre-election matters? You know, a party wants to choose a candidate, and they have agreed that this is our candidate. They have problem in the process. They must have a way by which they can resolve those issues. But it now becomes what we call pre-election matters. It goes to the Supreme Court, or it goes back and forth in our system. That means you have brought the judiciary into politics, and that's what you get. You get confusion. You get uncertainty in the law. You get unpredictability in the law. The precedents are messed up. The judiciary, the members of the bench are also human. If you don't want this kind of situation, minimize the involvement of the judiciary in political matters.
The question then, Mr. Akiyeshe George, is how? Let me talk to Mr. Wazirike here, Chief Wazirike. The question is how, if you agree with some of the things that you have heard Mr. Akiyeshe George talk about. Because we have lawyers everywhere. We have lawyers in the National Assembly. We have lawyers in the state houses of assembly. We have lawyers in politics. We have lawyers on both sides of the divide in the courts. So how do we minimize the function of the judiciary when those who are supposed to protect the judiciary are on all the sides of the parties?
Well, you know, lawmaking is essentially that of National Assembly for the Federation, signed by the President, which must be done not more than 30 days after, even though in Nigeria we even sign 1 year after. Now, the judiciary is swamped, that's the first thing, with too many cases. I have a matter at the Supreme Court, 10 years is still there, not touched. This year is gone, 11 years next year. So the court said they're only interested in the priority cases, political, criminal, human rights. Then all the civil matters can wait. How do we solve this problem? First is National Assembly to pass a bill, and the President to sign it. Limit the involvement of the courts in political cases.
How? It's the law that is being followed.
Yes, but they have to amend the law. If they amend the law that such cases must not go to Supreme Court. I gave an example of political matters. Supreme Court said in one case, it's not a business. Followed up, you're a busybody. In another case, he got involved. So either way, an amendment has to be made that you, the courts, you cannot handle such matters. 2, anytime you abuse your position as a judge, this is the consequence. 3, the lawyers who are involved must also face the sanctions. Let me put it bluntly. It is not the judge who goes to forge facts. It is the lawyer and his client. So if you give them every sanctions, they'll sit up. I'll give you an example, which was badly done, but at least they tried. On those states, almost 6 or 7 years ago, there was this businessman who wanted to be the governor. He got a lawyer. The man was there making all kinds of delays under PDP. By the time they got to the Supreme Court, the real PDP candidate was pronounced as the candidate, but he lost the election. And what the Supreme Court do said, you, the senior advocate, you are stripped of your title. For the next 3 years, this same senior advocate or former senior was just quiet. They just applied, they have just restored it. So if they impose such sanctions, I would think twice before going there to stand up and tell a man is a woman and a woman is a man.
Okay, on that, recently, I don't remember which case it was, that the courts, well, Mr. Akinshaye, George, you may also weigh in on it, after now. The courts said to the lawyer on this, that this matter shouldn't even have come to court in the first place. You're aware of that particular case?
Yes.
In that kind of case, what should happen?
Well, it depends on who is at fault. If your client comes to you and says, I want you to take up this case, you say, do you want my advice? There's no way here. In some cases, the client will say, let us go. In other cases, they'll tell you, I know the judge. Just file. But then, there are many cases where you even find the court itself being very wrong. Our friend, architect Ezekiel, just left here. His matter was languishing at the Court of Appeal. 42 days passed. On the 61st day, they gave judgment. Whereas the law is that it must be given within 60 days. So by the time it goes to the Supreme Court said, well, there's no jurisdiction, even though you won the case. So the case is off. So the blame, yes, I know, must go around, but what to do must start with what the legislature presents. Okay. I am proud to say I was a member of the Judiciary Committee of the National Conference of 2014. We made substantial recommendations. We worked with the then Chief Justice of Nigeria. But what happened? When Buhari came, he said, I won't even look at it.
Okay. Chief, you said earlier that any judge who has misused his position should be disciplined.
Yes.
Okay. How will is it the NJC?
The NJC has the sole and exclusive duty.
Okay. How will the NJC know that he has misused his position as a judge to be able to discipline him?
Well, there must be a petition today. Then, but the problem I will tell you from practical point of view today is that when you have a valid petition with all the facts correct, you blow it up in the press. If you have a corrupt group of people presiding, they can't suppress it. Because if the panel is set up by NJC to look into it, it's also made up of people who have questionable character, then you have a problem. But we must continue to upload all such cases to NJC.
Okay. Mr. Akinshaye, George, you want to respond to the same two issues raised. One is the fact that, there was that case where the court, I'm not sure whether it was, I think it was a presidential, I'm not very sure right now, when the court said, this matter shouldn't even have come, this particular issue in this case shouldn't even have come to court in the first place. And the recommendation of Mr. Wazirike is that, look, the Supreme Court already gave a kind of precedence, stripping an individual of his sonship, of a senior advocate of Nigeria role because of one, infraction or the other, right there on the floor of the court. So, do you think that is substantial?
Thank you very much. I'm delighted that the issues are coming out very clearly. I liked what the learned participant, that the chief, said. The judiciary does not decide which cases come before them. They have no power to initiate cases. The cases they deal with are those taken there by the people. That's number one. Of course, there are rules that say, okay, this kind of cases can go before the court. Those rules are now outdated. A situation where even House of Assembly election, I think that one goes to the Court of Appeal. The appellate court, we have to, in the Court of Appeal, we have to be the final Court of Appeal in a matter pertaining to the election of a member of the House of Assembly. We have a Supreme Court that has 21 justices. At the moment, they have only 10 justices. And we have a population of over 200 million people. One Supreme Court serving over 200 million people. So our laws as presently constituted are outdated. They are anachronistic. We need to define, we need to redefine and limit the functions that the Supreme Court can perform. The Supreme Court has to be a constitutional court. We need to devolve, we need to decentralize the judicial system, such that we have full complement of courts at regional levels, so that matters of customary law, matters of land matters, and several other matters end at the regional appellate court. Only a few matters that the Supreme Court decide that they are going to take, constitutional matters of fundamental constitutional importance, will go to the Supreme Court. I have argued this in several places. I'm a professor of law, a senior advocate of Nigeria. I've taught jurisprudence for more than 30 years. I've told them that our present judicial structure, as constituted, is not fit for purpose. You can't blame judges for that. It is the role of the National Assembly to tinker with the Constitution and the executive to bring relevant constitutional reform proposals. If we were to continue like this, a time will come when there will be total, absolute loss of confidence in the judicial system. And that's not good for us. That's not good for the rule of law. So it is high time, rather than just bashing judges, attacking them, criticizing them, we need to look at the instruments, the laws with which they have to work.
Well, Mr. Akisha, sorry, Prof, yes. Now that I know that you're a professor, now, Prof, in that regard, are these the reasons why there is corruption in the judiciary? That case, I'm pretty sure you are aware of that report by the ICPC that, you know, judges take bribes. Is that the reason?
You see, you didn't read that report correctly. I want to challenge you that you have not read that report. ICPC was talking about the judicial sector. And the judiciary it's not only judges who make up the judicial sector. There are non-lawyers supporting judges as well. We are not saying there's no corruption. But can you have a clean judiciary in a society that is rotten? Is it possible? Are these judges supposed to be angels from heaven to administer the laws of Nigeria for us?
If you go by what one of your colleagues said yesterday on our program, yes. Barrister Bani, saying that in virtually every profession, it's about just the judiciary, especially the judges, that have what he described as they play the role of God in some way, saying that it is whatever pronouncement of the court that stands in the land. Consequently, to an extent, some people will say, yes, we expect these people to be well above board. We can misbehave, they can't, because they have the power to make pronouncements as if it was God that was making the pronouncement. So that expectation may not be out of place. And yes, you are correct. The report of the ICPC is talking about the judiciary in total. Mr. Obani also mentioned yesterday that even the errors, the clerical error that is being claimed by the appeal court could have been performed by a clerical officer in the courts. Understandably. But at the end of the day, no one is going to mention the name of a clerical officer. No one is going to mention the name of a typist. Yeah. They're going to mention the name of the judge. So that is why perhaps a good number of people have that perspective. That is the way to look at this. But having said all of that, how do we step all of these down? Because you said it just now, perception is reality. And if people continue to see the judiciary in a particular light, in no small time, in no distant future from now, we won't have anything again. So how do we insulate the judiciary, particularly the heads of the courts, from all of these, mistakes, all of this distrust, all of this corruption in particular that is unleashed on them by the political class? How do we do that?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I like the way you have framed the question. Now, there are 3 branches of government. We have the executive, we have the legislature, we have the judiciary. Now, the legislature and the executive are political, and they must be political. They must be allowed to misbehave. They must be allowed to get things wrong, to make mistakes, fight themselves, fight dirty. The other day, Father Kuka was talking about pigs fighting in the mud, even though he said that it's not referring to the politicians as pigs. I agree. But political branches must be allowed to be political. We need to establish a structure in our judiciary that will guarantee their independence. And steps are already being made in that regard. I'm aware, that the Attorney General of the Federation, is already making moves, to ensure that the judiciary is insulated. That should be that's what we should be crying about. Okay. Not attacking judges, not making unfounded allegations. you know, and then using the social media to divide and heat up the system. The concern of every Nigerian now, including those of you in the media, is let us create a better structure, an improved structure.
Well, there's more on that. One of the recommendations that Chief Wazirike has made here on disciplining legal practitioners, erring judges, and all of those things. We'll come to those when we return from this break. Just stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It's still sunrise and it's a Saturday morning. Oh, I didn't tell you the date this morning. Today is November 25, just in case you forgot. And check your diary. Maybe you're missing an Owambe right now. Let me quickly come back to you.
It's exactly 4 weeks to Christmas.
Exactly 4 weeks to Christmas. And 2 days before that, we're going to have DSS. Yes. December Sunrise Special, not that DSS. Okay. All right. And we're going to arrest some people for that. But, come back to you, Dr. Waziri.
And we shall not be needing judges after we have arrested them.
We'll judge that later. We'll judge that later. Now, you've listened to Professor Akinseye George, speak about some of these issues and that we shouldn't blame the judiciary, we shouldn't blame judicial officers. I contend, and I'm still going to ask you, Prof, I contend that for as long as we have judicial officers in the National Assembly, judicial officers in the political parties, in government, and in opposition, I will still say that the judiciary is everywhere and we should still lay a responsibility on judicial officers. Do you agree with me?
No, well, not completely. Let me just tell you how it works and what the ICPC report said. It attributed some of the corruption cases to clerks and registrars, to drivers and office assistants, to lawyers and to the judges themselves. The report gave percentages. And Bishop Kuka, I like the way he put it. He said, we priests are also involved in thanking God for any success done by corruption. Now, if you're going to court now, I'm sure you will not go to court and say, Judge, take this money, give me judgment. No. You get your lawyer, you go to your lawyer, prepare the cases, you sign, and you file. If you notice around the court premises, you find some people hanging around. They look at you. No, check and bail is different too.
Oh.
In the magistrate court, but in the high court, you find some people hovering around. Some of them may not be lawyers, but they are there looking for vulnerable people to scam. They will tell you, oh, this judge, I know him now, he's my uncle. He comes to our house. This judge is my auntie. They convince you. At times you see them going in and out. They say the judge said he should bring this. I'll just give you a real example I know of in the High Court of Abia State. There was a judge who had this friend, a medical doctor. The medical doctor visited him. So as usual, he was seeing him off. Another man was sitting in the doctor's car. So the man quickly came out and said, now me get that Nama case. I am the owner of that cow case. So what are you talking about? Now, Nama case before you, now where you they here before this person and this person? I make I tell the doctor, make he come see you. Even the thing where I give. So the judge was mad. He said, is this what you have been doing with our relationship? Of course, he reported him and withdrew from the case also, because he was already compromised. Now, the court clerks, the registrars have a horrible role to play. At times they tell you, give me money, I will make sure this case is assigned to that judge. And how is it done? The day they will carry the files for assignment, they know that the presiding judge is not around. So when the acting PJ is saying, which court? Say, my lord, go to court 2, court 3. I know it happened in Federal High Court. After investigation, they were able to establish that this particular registrar was fond of saying Judge A, Judge B. But they couldn't establish corruption. They simply retired him. So judiciary and its mess will always be there until we have somebody who will say, I am angry enough to wield the big stick. It starts with the Chief Judge, starts with the Chief Justice. Now the crisis also in the judiciary is carried on by the way the Chief Judge comes in. When the governor is traveling, some people will see him off. If you go to the various states, you find the Chief Judge being one of those standing there. That is wrong. When he's coming back, the same process. Judicial financial independence is compromised. Unfortunately, when the case got to Supreme Court, they said, well, you have no jurisdiction. You must amend the Constitution. So if a Chief Judge needs money to carry out a project, he writes to the governor. He goes with the letter to the governor. He sits down to wait. As he's waiting, party chairman comes in, George, how are you? He taps him on the back. Before the Chief Judge will go in to see the governor. The governor says, okay, I approve. But there's no money. Accountant General is sitting on it, on the instruction of the governor. And when he inquires, you find out that he, the Chief Judge, gave judgment against the state. So we are paying you back. Corruption is real, including a lady working in a law firm writing complaints saying, bring your cases to us. We are close to the judges. We tell them what to do.
You know, my apologies, Chief. I'll bring this back to you, Prof. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still finding it difficult to excuse the legal professionals, because it is the legal professional that is on this side and on that side. I'm trying to imagine it's a medical doctor. I'm trying to imagine it's an engineer. It's a profession, that's governed by rules. As you said the other time, Prof, there are rules to bringing certain cases to court. You said it here to us. So there are some cases that aren't supposed to go to court. Well, Chief also said that sometimes the legal professional will advise the individual that, look, this case, there is no road. There is nothing at the end. And at the end of it, the court says, in judgment, with the lawyer there, and I don't know how he will not feel embarrassed, that this case shouldn't have come to court in the first place. In that kind of case, going by the example of what he said the other time, that the Supreme Court stripped someone of his sonship, do you think that is something that should be scaled up, just to curtail that we do not overburden the courts with cases that shouldn't come to court?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's one of the things we need to do. Discipline, if you like. You see, let me help you to frame what you are trying to say a little bit. The legal profession controls the one arm of government. That's the judiciary. You have to be a lawyer to be a judge. And we are the legal profession is responsible, as far as I'm concerned, for the role in the system. The legal profession has also helped the system, but we have reached a point now that we need to up our game. We need to rethink this. We need to reorganize the system. What are the things we need to look at? All of these things. I mean, like the learned chief there was talking about. We need to look at appointment. Appointment. 5 things we must look at: appointment of judges and support staff. Appointment of judges and support staff. Working conditions and remuneration. Very, very important. You are talking about how to insulate the judiciary. Then we are looking at jurisdiction. What matters should go to court? What matters should be resolved at the political level? What matters should be resolved at the regional level? What matters should go to the Supreme Court? At the moment, all sorts of things, including husband and wife fighting, and they have issues, and they want to separation, they go to the Supreme Court. Is that the purpose of the Supreme Court? Supreme Court ought to be a constitutional court. Supreme Court ought to be a court of policy. Supreme Court ought to be a court that shapes the future development of the country, using the legal system, using the law. And then we have to look at retirement package. A situation where, for example, we take care of heads of court we take care of the Chief Justice very well. We take care of the Chief Judge very well. We take care of heads of court very well. We have no provision for justices of the Supreme Court. No provision for justices of the Court of Appeal. No provision for High Court judges. Except maybe in Lagos State and Rivers State. Even magistrates are not well taken care of. And magistrates control more than 80% of the cases that come into the judicial system. So our system is fundamentally flawed. It is not fit for purpose. Okay. That's the judicial system. Okay. And we need a strong judiciary. We need a strong judiciary to consolidate and stabilize democracy. They have done well so far with the minimum resources that they have. So we need to look at the system and reorganize it. That's what I'm saying.
Professor, can we therefore come to the conclusion or deduce that some of this corruption is arising from the fact that judges are not well catered for? Because we heard some time ago about, I think it was a former chief judge of the Federation, making a case for buying cars for some of them and giving some of them adequate accommodation. Could we therefore say that this is among the reasons why some of them will tend to be corrupt?
I must say that notwithstanding the very harsh conditions under which judges work, the great majority of our judges are honest, hardworking, and courageous. A great majority of them. However, we are exposing them unduly and unnecessarily. They buy from the same market, they spend the same naira that everybody is spending, and they are not allowed to practice law like their colleagues who are in private practice are doing. So, harsh economic situation for me does not justify corruption, but it's a predisposing factor. So we need to look at working conditions, we need to look at character, we need to look at who gets appointed. The present structure is defective. You have the Chief Justice as the head of I'm not talking about the incumbent, I'm talking about the office. The office of the Chief Judge, of the Chief Justice, heads the Federal Judicial Service Commission, heads the National Judicial Council, heads the National Judicial Institute, heads virtually all the bodies that are in the judiciary. You know, then you say absolute power corrupts, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. That's what Justice Datinjo was talking about in his retirement speech. Justice, the female justice, I'm trying to remember her name, my former lecturer. Amina Ogi talked about the same thing. Justice Onoge talked about the same thing. All the retiring justices in the last 10 years, in the last 20 years, have been saying this structure is bad. Do something about it. And I believe that we have an incredible opportunity at this time when we have the current president. I believe he did a lot for the judiciary in Lagos State. That's why the judiciary in Lagos State is a little better than the others, you know. And then we also have an attorney general who is seasoned, who is not just a legal practitioner, who is a professional to the core, you know. So I think this is an opportunity to turn around the judicial system, because without a solid judiciary, democracy will fail. Without a solid judiciary that can call a spade, that can say to the political, you are wrong, to the political branches, you are wrong, go and do the right thing. You know, unless we have such a vibrant and strong judiciary, but we cannot have such a judiciary as presently constituted. It cannot work.
Is there a role for the NJC and or the NBA in all of these? How urgent should those interventions of either of these parties be?
Absolutely. The NJC ought to produce, NJC should come up with a bill. We have advocated this privately, we are also advocating it publicly. The NJC should say that this is what the structure we need. This is the structure that can help us. But the NJC cannot do it all by itself. We need the NBA to stand up and do something. You know, to work with the Office of the Attorney General, the legal profession. We are to blame. We must take the blame. You know, I'm part of the system.
How about the inner bar? Because they are the ones usually at the front line of
I'm a member of the inner bar. I'm a member of the inner bar as well.
Exactly.
The body of senior advocates. The body of senior advocates. We must produce a bill and go to the National Assembly. Because, like you rightly said, the National Assembly also needs the help of lawyers. Because politicians do not draft laws. Lawyers have to help them to draft these laws. So the legal profession must get its act together We know the problems, but it's not sufficient to know the problem. But because many of us are profiting from the decadent system, we are not doing what we're supposed to do about it. You know, but we need Nigeria to survive. We need democracy to survive for us to begin to continue to practice our profession. You know, so we need as a matter of urgency to reorganize the framework, the constitutional framework of the judiciary.
Okay.
You know, and of justice delivery. Okay. That is the long and short of it. Thank
Chief, you. How do we go about this? You agree with him, or you want?
Oh yeah. In fact, the National Assembly, the various state legislatures can take the first step. Otherwise, we'll go straight for constitutional amendment. Give the judiciary more powers and provide for them. When a justice retires, yes, he gets his salary for life and other things. Where does he live?
Under the bridge.
The Chief Justice, the Chief Judge, that provided houses. And just a caution on the issue of the Chief Judges. If the governor does not like you, he will make no provision for that. But it should be done.
Are they not supposed to get their money on frontline charges or whatever they call it?
No, there is frontline. That is for salaries. Salaries of judges. But to run the courts, you need state funding.
How is that different from what the National Assembly does? Does the National Assembly also go to the executive cap in hand?
That's part of the corruption. If they think you're not obeying them, they have ways. Just lock up the money purse.
Yes.
And everybody will follow. But then the problem starts with appointment. First of the magistrates, because most magistrate courts, customary courts, are marketplaces. What do you want? You have good ones, so I have to be honest. You have good magistrates, good judges, and so on. But then, one bad apple spoils the rest. And if you remember, the judge took bribe, makes more news than the judge is an upright judge. So when you begin to see things the way they are, in the first place, there are some lawyers who will deceive you. There are also other lawyers who will be diligent to ask you what you want, which is why we always say, give us a letter of instruction. If a client in a good case...
Letter.
Yes, you have a letter of instruction.
Like a kind of brief.
You must take it in writing. If we don't take it in writing, it is he said, she said. So, the repair of the damage. Remember the slogan in the street, go to court. Go to court means you will not get justice. That's the meaning. So if I slap you now as a princess, then you get angry, I'll tell you, go to court.
But Chief, you know all this advocacy that's going on now about amending the electoral laws. If a number of those things go through, don't you think that will reduce the pressure on the judiciary?
The Electoral Act, the Constitution, amending 2 of them now, taking into account our experience of the year 2023, you expect INEC to give you results, certified true copies.
Not in the courts.
You pay. Up till now, INEC has not given Peter B the results, certified. He paid for them. They have not given article. And the ones they brought are modeled up ones. And Supreme Court said there's no way anybody can look at them. But did not sanction INEC.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I think we have gotten some pointers to how we should be taking this further. What remains now is for us to perhaps wait for Professor Yemi Akinse George's considerations to be activated by those who should. You've mentioned the NJC, National Judicial Commission. You've mentioned the Nigerian Bar Association. You've mentioned the inner bar as well. And let's just hope that they'll be able to take some action on this. Professor Yemi Akinse George is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
And we've also had the privilege of Chief Godi Wazirike, also a legal practitioner. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
How soon we get answers, I guess the time will tell. In the meantime, stick with us. We'll be right back.